Welcome to ZOOMERTIMES TV. And here's your host, Anita Finley.
So here I am, Anita Finley. I'm your host of ZOOMERTIMES TV, publisher of BoomerTimes, and I have one of our favorite advertisers. I feel like they're friends and not just advertisers. And of course, it's Farm Ministries. And we have Micah Farley. Micah is the intake counselor. Did I get that correct?
Well, yes, it's actually Micah Farley.
Micah, yes, that's right. It is Micah, right? So Micah Farley. Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
And the intake counselor, most people would understand what that means, intake counselor. But at Faith Farm, what does that entail, Micah?
Well, it entails start to finish. I have contact with the guys from the day they apply to the day they graduate. And quite often, even after they graduate, they call me and let me know how they're doing. We get some guys, I need to come back. And I try to encourage them, hey, you've been given the tools, put those to use. But that's my job. And that's where you get counselor, is this idea that I'm sort of a cheerleader. You know, I'm their advocate in that I want them to seek Jesus with everything they've got, right? Because I know, and in my life it happened, that when it happened, when I did it, man, my life changed.
I know we talked about that last time, but there are people who are always new, who are just listening. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Who are you? What were you doing?
Well, my name is Micah Farley. I claim Chattanooga, Tennessee is my hometown. I moved around a lot as a kid. My addiction started when I was 17 years old. I'm now 45. Did a little bit of everything, honestly. I came to Faith Farm in 2012, September 10th, 2012, actually. And that's the day that my life changed, because that's when I decided. Now, a little bit about me. My dad was a Baptist preacher. We were missionaries up in Canada. I knew the Bible. I knew what it said, but I couldn't apply it to my life. And we find that a lot with the men that are coming in. They know what the Bible says, but they don't know what it means to them. So that's the crucial point where we've got to make those things mesh up. We've got to allow them to see the reality of Jesus in their life, that experience, right? Because that's what all of our actions are based on, is our past experiences. So when we introduce them to Jesus, we want them to have an experience, one that is so real and so powerful that it can't help but change their life. So anyway,
Micah, I can imagine how your father, as a preacher to begin with, must have been handling this not well.
Well, my dad was actually as supportive as he could be. He was a preacher. Now, by the time I was really in my addiction, he had always taught that you couldn't be divorced and be a preacher, and he ended up getting divorced. So he went back to school and became a drug and alcohol abuse counselor with the Native Indians up in Canada and Alaska. So he sort of knew he had a really good idea. I like to kid myself and think that he didn't know, but he knew what was going on, and he gave me as much space as I wanted. And I look back sometimes and I think, man, I wish I would have done things differently. He passed in 2008, before I gained sobriety. And I look back and I want to honor him with my life. Just like I honor Jesus with my life, I want to honor my dad because he was a good man.
That's a wonderful thing. That's so nice, especially Father's Day coming up. You can do a big honor day on that. And before we started, I was talking to Micah, and I always like to know what is their greatest need. They always need something there at Faith Farm, but it wasn't articles of clothing. It wasn't things like that. You tell everybody what you want.
Listen, our whole mission here at Faith Farm is to produce disciples for Christ. And right now, we are short of men who are looking for that. We're short of students, people who need help, who genuinely want to change in their life. It's not easy. It's not even fun lots of the time. but it's worth it. And that's what I tell everybody who applies. Listen, this program isn't easy. It's not fun, but if you stick to it, if you complete it, if you really decide to make a change, man, it's going to be worth it.
You know, Micah, I have been working with Farm Ministries for many years, and it was always, they didn't have enough beds for years. They didn't have enough beds and rooms, and they had a waiting list, and they had to decide who was really going to be the best students and all. So that did a flip-flop. Why do you think that you're not getting the students? Because I would think during COVID, we had a lot of people at home drinking, drugging, doing all that. What do you think's going on?
Well, I think there's multiple factors. I think that some of it was our own fault. We shut the campuses down for a month or two at the very beginning of the crisis. We stopped taking people in for a little while because we didn't want to add to our population. Now, smart or not, it's just what happened. We chose to do it that way, and our population just sort of dropped because people were leaving and we weren't bringing more people in, and it's been hard to rebuild that. Now, part of it's also because the government has been mailing people money, and you can't come to the end of your rope as long as more rope keeps coming.
So in other words, they've had money to keep on the drugs and and alcohol and everything else, is what you're saying.
To a certain extent, yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. I knew about the unemployment checks, but I didn't realize it would affect people. I would think they just had more money to do what they did and be more closer to the sewers and the roads and stuff. But it all has this effect. Well, now I guess you're on the road to recovery. Everyone is.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
make this show really dedicate everybody who's watching it. If you know someone, if you know whomever it is who needs help, you've got to send them to Micah Farley over there at Faith Farm Ministries. Their phone number is, get your pencils out, it's 954-763-7787. Is that correct?
I know that's actually the Fort Lauderdale number.
Oh, okay. That's what I have listed here in our ad. So you don't want that one, huh?
Oh, no. Hey, listen, that's fine. It doesn't matter what campus you send them to.
Well, we're not going to send them there. They can just call that number, I guess, and they'll tell us where. Tell me then. Oh, I see. The ad only showed that. What's the Fort Lauderdale? What's the Palm Beach County number?
My number here, the number is 561-737-2222.
Okay, I'll give both then. Okay, well, that's what our ad says, so it's interesting. So are all campuses short of students or just yours in Palm Beach County?
All the campuses are short on students. I'm running at a little bit less than half capacity right now. And Okeechobee's running at about 33%.
Huh.
So
are there different intake counselors, or do you do that for all of the 3 campuses?
There are 3 different intake counselors. There's myself, there's Roy Estes, and there's Nikki Foxworth. Roy works in Fort Lauderdale and Nikki works in Okeechobee.
All right, now let's talk about women. I know you do have female, students. Those also?
I've got to be honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about the women's program. I don't deal with it, but I know that we have the capacity to house like 18, and we've got 7 or 8. So they're running about 50% as well.
Oh, okay. Well, this is really interesting. So I'm very happy that you told me what's going on, so we can really promote this. We need to get more students, more people helped. And we also need them to man all the requirements that Faith Farm Ministries has for people to come there to drop off their goods and to pick them up. That all takes students. And without that, you won't even make the money to keep the Faith Farm Ministries going.
Well, that's true. The good news is it's not all on us, that we're doing God's ministry and he's going to provide a way. Don't get me wrong. We need all that stuff. Absolutely. But I rest assured that I'm doing what God's told me to do. And as long as I'm doing that, he's going to provide a way.
Yeah. Well, he always has, hasn't he, for Faith Farm Ministries?
Absolutely.
It's been a long time. I always think it's like 67 years when it first started, or has it gotten, maybe it's 69 now. I don't
It's
know. I've
at
been there so long.
70 years now.
Now it's 70. Oh, shows how long I've been talking with people there. 70 years of doing this incredible work. And it's been unique, not only in South Florida, but probably across the country, because it's it's entrepreneurial, but yet it's also a school in a sense, a religious school, I'll call it. And it has progressed to something that I think the founder would not have believed.
I think that you're right. I don't know if he would have recognized it today, and I don't know that that's a bad thing, because he had certain ideas for the campuses, and up until recently, we weren't pushing for those things. And now here we're at a time in our ministry where we've had to really take a look at things and look at our goals and look at our priorities and what are we actually doing, and ask the question, are we doing what God's called us to do? And where we aren't, where we find ourselves falling short, that's where we're aiming to improve. So I think he would be honored to see it as it is. And I think that he would be super excited about where we're going.
I agree with you. And so you're still doing the graduations, of course, because for me, those are the most impactful. When people attend those, they see who really are the students and what life has changed for them.
We do a graduation every 10 weeks. We've gone from classes to phase. We've extended we're doing 6-week classes now. We're doing 10-week phases. Our program is honestly stretching out from 9 to 10 months to 10 to 12 months, which is it's needed. Truth is, when I came in and I graduated, I did well in the program, but honestly, I didn't even know to start working on my stuff till almost a year after I graduated.
Really?
And that's part of what we're changing is confronting the men with their stuff while they're in the program, while they have a chance to really deal with their stuff and talk about it and allow the Lord to minister to them. So that's just part of the change. And I'm excited because I've gotten to be a part of that.
That's excellent. And it's nothing like having someone who fell, then got picked up, and then is in the program, and then one of the leaders. Because when people come in, I'm sure the first thing is, well, you don't understand what it's been like. And you look at them and say, sir, yes, I do.
It happens more than you think.
Of course it does. It's everybody who has some sort of a problem always think you don't understand, but you do understand. But so what kind of personality do you see as a success there? Can you tell off the bat that they're going to have a very hard time?
Sometimes. Now, honestly, I've learned that my own judgment is usually wrong. Like the guys who I think are going to succeed do terrible, and the guys who I think there's no way he's going to make it, they're the ones that push through. And I find the thing that is the most telling about a student is their desire and their drive for recovery. What's going to stop them from getting the healing that they say they desire? Because listen, everybody comes in and says, oh yeah, I want it really bad. But then the first roadblock or speed bump comes up and they're like, nope, I'm out of here. You can't treat me like that. No, I deserve better than this. Well, the truth is, no, you don't.
What would a speed bump be?
It could be anything. It could be a letter from a girlfriend that says, oh, I want you to come back home. It could be a check from the government for $600, $1,200. It could be a customer getting smart with them, just speaking to them like they're a student in a rehab program. Like let's just be honest, like they're less than, and then they feel personally attacked instead of realizing, hey, that customer is probably going through something themselves. It's not a big deal, but any little thing, especially in this business, you find can possibly set the men off. And that's what we try to address is when something sets them off, we try to talk to them and say, okay, well, let's figure out why that sets you off. Why did somebody making that little comment because now that you're calm, you can think about it and you're like, oh, well, it wasn't really a big deal, but why did it set you off like that? Let's look at that. Why are you giving that person permission to ruin your life?
Of course, we know that anyone having a serious problem has very low self-esteem. And of course, we know that that's one of the problems. But let me tell everybody, I have this fabulous guest. His name is Micah Farley, and he is the intake counselor with Farm Ministries. I gave you a phone number before. I'm going to give you the, excuse me, the Palm Beach County phone number, which is 561-737-2222. And, but anywhere you call, you can go to either the one in Palm Beach County or in Fort Lauderdale, excuse me, or in Okeechobee, because they do have different campuses. Do you direct these people to different campuses? Is it in your best, with your knowledge to say you'll do better here or better there?
Well, as we stand now, I try to bring everybody here because we are short-staffed. Now, we do have a policy that says once you've been to one campus, you need to go to another campus if you decide to come back. So we try to do that. Now, Nikki and Roy were both, I was their teacher when they went through the program. So we know each other quite well. So we're able to get along and we're able to coordinate with each other and work it out to where, hey, this person may do better here. What do you think? And talk amongst each other to try to orchestrate a better environment for the student.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's quite an organization. You've, I think that you are so professional, and that's why I think you have such success. So now tell us actually, when people go there who aren't students, and talk a little bit about the money making to keep it going. Why don't you share that with people who haven't been there yet?
Okay. Well, here in Boynton Beach, our primary small enterprise is our thrift store. We have a relatively large thrift store. I don't know, I mean 60,000 square feet or something like that. I mean, it's pretty large. Okeechobee's 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, so we're actually have a large thrift store. A lot of our men work in the thrift store. The customers who come in, listen, we've got customers who come every day, rain or shine, and they're absolutely phenomenal people. The people who come here love the ministry. They love the deals. And believe me, we have some deals, and they love the students too. I can't say enough good things about the people who come to us. They're patient. Generally, they're very kind. They're just phenomenal people. And they know that what they're doing, even if they're paying a little bit more than they would in another thrift shop, they rest assured that knowing that the money that they're spending is going to a purpose, instead of thinking that it's going to somebody's pocket. It's going to the men who are in the program, and the ability for them to stay here and be housed and be taught and to have clothes. That's what it goes to. And it's this idea of being part of something bigger, while still getting to shop and do your thing. It's a phenomenal idea. Pappy was right on when he said, this is what we need to do.
You said something that I think ought to be a theme. Spend money with a purpose. I love that. I have not heard that before. That's a very important statement, because spend money with a purpose. And so many times we go and spend money and it's self-serving, or it's just, as you said, for a business, but this is really for a purpose. Wow, you have to tell people this one. I think they ought to use that on one of their, posters or something. Spend money here with a purpose, right? That's really true. So tell us, do you think that the students, their parents, do they have a big effect on them? I know they've had it before, they have it after. How do you deal with the parents, and do you?
Well, I try to the very best of my ability to deal directly with the student. Like if a lot of times I get moms or dads calling in saying my son needs help, and I'll give them my phone number and say, well, have your son call me. Because listen, if mom and dad want help for their son, it's not going to do any good. The addict has to want help, and he's got to want out of where he's at. it's got to become so uncomfortable that the discomfort of leaving is less than the comfort of staying. You've got to put it and in our society, the parents think, oh no, I've done this wrong, and this wrong. I've got to make it up to them. I've got to do better now. But what they're doing is enabling the addict and allowing them to sit where they're at, and they're literally loving them to death.
Right.
Because they allow them to get away with things that they shouldn't allow. And I was just on the phone with a mother this morning who was calling about her son. And I tried to encourage her to give her son my number, and she, I just, he keeps stealing from me and everything. I said, well, call the police on him. Call the police on him. Put him in jail. Don't let him get away with
that's
that.
going to go a long way. Right. You're right. But I can hear that. Oh, I couldn't do that with my son. Right. No. But you're right. And we see that today now with some people who unfortunately commit very serious crimes. And the families all knew about what they were doing, but they never did anything about it.
Yeah. What we permit, we promote all the time.
What we permit, where do you get all this stuff? Where we permit, we promote. Oh, I'm writing that one down too. It applies to so many things. It isn't just what you're doing. Permit, we promote. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm writing it all down. That's good. You should write, I know you don't have time. Someday you should write a book. Sounds like you have a lot of stuff to put in a book.
Well, I've got a lot of experience. Fortunately, more of my experience in the last 8 years has been good than bad, but I have 36 years of pretty bad stuff, which thank God he's delivered me from. I'm free.
Right.
I'm no longer in addiction, and that is a incredible thing, because
Of course.
8-9 years ago I didn't see myself here.
Interesting. And is your mother still alive?
My mother is still alive. Now, I say my mother, I was adopted. So my adopted mother is still alive. She actually lives in Canada. She lives in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. My sister lives up there with her. Her second husband died about 4 or 5 years ago. So she's up there with my sister. She's still alive, and we actually talk once a week. We FaceTime, and she sees the kids and all that.
Good. So, but she lived with you while you were suffering with the addiction.
No, to be honest with you, my mom was in addiction herself, which is part of the reason why my dad got a divorce, because it was an additional thing. And listen, I used to hate her for it.
Sure.
Now I've gotten to the point where, you know what's done is done. And I try to be as close to her as I can. I try to just be there for her when she needs to talk or anything like that, without holding any judgments or anything like that, because listen, I've screwed up too.
Right. And so you are one big, wonderful human being. I must say that it's such a pleasure to talk to you. Now I understand why you're a very good intake counselor. I mean, because you're so sincere and you've been there, and now you're not there. You're now in another space, and people will probably say to you, so how did you get there? Am I going to be able to get where you are? And you tell them what?
Absolutely, but it's completely in your hands. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to chase Jesus with everything you have and not let anybody get in your way, I promise you'll be above where I am. You can surpass me. And that's the idea is men that have come up through the program and are here. Let's push the other men that are coming up. Let's push them forward. Let's have them do better, bigger, and better things than us. Let's send them out to go heal people and preach the gospel and direct people back to not only Faith Farm, but listen, Dunklin, any program that's faith-based, that's desire is to make disciples. Let's bring people who need help in, because that's what Jesus was about.
And that's actually a very good place for us to talk now again. I always say we, because I always feel a part of Faith Farm Ministries. We want students, and it's easier said than done. You just can't call a friend, but we know that there are a lot of people addicted, and not only to alcohol and drugs, but to medications, pharmaceuticals. So if someone is having a hard time and you know that, maybe talking to them isn't going to do it, but you can get a brochure from Faith Farm. Just call them. You can call them at this number, 561-737-2222. If you talk to Micah, then he can send you one. But it's very hard to get someone, as Micah was saying, to say, okay, I'm going to go. Sometimes they have to fall down on the ground or go to jail or something. And the judges have been very smart. You want to get out of jail? I have a place that you can go to, as long as they know that they're that they're an addict, that's not for something else. So I just think the way that you've organized the whole Faith Farm Ministries have been doing this, as you said, 70 years, but it's been the last probably 20, that you're such a strong organization. You really know, it's like, you know the rules, you know what works, what doesn't work, and people are funding it. It's funding with a purpose, and that's what I love that you said that. It's when you buy that bed, or you buy that bike, or you donate something, or you call them to pick up your refrigerator. What you're doing is you're doing something with a purpose. I'm going to use that all the time. So what have I forgotten? We want more students. We want them to call and say, I need help.
Absolutely. We want more students, and listen, we just want more of Jesus. We want Jesus to be here, and we want to exemplify Jesus in everything that we do.
Do you have an orientation, by the way, that people who aren't quite sure if this is right for them, and you have maybe, a few of them come one night or one afternoon for an orientation? Have you ever done that?
No, ma'am. I've never done that. I have had a couple guys who were iffy call me and ask if they could have a tour of the place. So I take 30, 45 minutes and walk them around, just show them what we do and what it would be like. And that's usually good. pretty self-explanatory. They see the place, they can decide whether they want to commit to it or not.
Oh, so they're halfway there. So they're at least open to something, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So
usually by the time that I'm talking to them, as long as their parents or grandma or grandpa didn't put in the application for them, they realize that they need to change. Now, every addict knows he needs to change. The real question is, do they want to? Because that want to is what's going to drive you. I said for years and years that I needed to change, but until 8 years ago, I was unwilling to.
Well, you certainly made the change, and we've just now been told that we have a minute or two left. So, Micah, we're going to we need students, and I think maybe in our July article, maybe we ought to tell Frank and his wife, who writes the wonderful articles, Mary, probably should do something about the students, because I didn't know that was needed, and we ought to let people know that that we're waiting for you. We have a great program, and you're going to be a new person if you'll just give us a chance to help you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll, because I'm sure Frank watches the shows, but it's a good idea, because I'm glad I heard from you too, because I know some people, I think, and I've actually, I have to be careful how I refer people, because it's like you said, they don't want you to talk to them about any of this. But so it's really the story of someone who's almost reached bottom, who really need help and are open for it. And of course, if they talk to you, Micah, I think they're done. I mean, you're gonna get them, because you're just a ball of enthusiasm and faith and everything else. So everybody, let me give you the phone number one more time to call. It's 561-737-2222. Thank you so much, Micah. You were terrific. You just inspired me today.
Thank you, Anita. And it was a pleasure being on here with you. I enjoyed it.
It's always a pleasure being with you too. Thank you. And keep making those slogans.
Yes, ma'am.
If you or someone you know is having an addiction problem, there's a place that can help. It's called Faith Farm Ministries. What's important for those without addiction is that Faith Farm Ministries is supported by their 3 amazing thrift stores and by donations. Most people are not aware of the wonderful work they do for our fellow citizens. The way you can help is to make sure that their work continues. It's easy. Bring unwanted items to their locations during the day or put them in their drop boxes. Then, be sure to go and buy new or used items from their thrift stores. They're located in Fort Lauderdale, Boynton Beach, and in Okeechobee. Faith Farm Ministries makes the entire process a win-win to help and to get help, maybe even for yourself. For information, call 561-737-2259. That's Faith Farm Ministries, 561-737-2259, or go online to www.faithfarm.org.